May 28th of 1917.
They had a meeting at the city council. The mayor called the meeting at night, which of course was a serious mistake. It was called at 8 o'clock at night in the city auditorium. The representatives of the laboring people wanted to consult with the mayor and the city council to see if some of the measures could not be adopted to prevent a further influx of Negroes in East St. Louis. They went there from 500 to 1,000 strong. There were some inflammatory and impassioned speeches made at the meeting, and as a result, when they left the auditorium, they went down in a section about 2 blocks from the city hall where the Negro saloons, and they began to attack them.
When I stood up at that town hall meeting, I set the record straight. I said, listen, me and my neighbors paid some pretty good money for our houses, and we don't want any colored moving in next door. We just can't figure out how to keep them from moving in. There's no law against mob violence. And if there were to be such a law, the police couldn't arrest an entire mob.
Groups of white men started to attack black men and black persons generally. Some were alone or in small groups at trolley stops or streetcar stops where they were waiting to board to go to work or to disembark to go on their way home. It was just fist fighting, in some cases breaking windows, so on, of homes that were owned or occupied by black folks and businesses that were owned by black folks. Now, much of this occurred in and immediately around the downtown business district. Essentially, the police were, for the most part, respectful to black folks. For the most part, they protected black folks from the violence.
On July 1st, 1917, about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, a carload of whites went through a black neighborhood, and whites fired out of the car into black houses. And about 2 hours later, the same car or another Model T Ford went through and did the same thing. The third time, about 11 or 11:30, a carload of whites in a black Model T Ford went to the same neighborhood.
The black men that were in the self-defense group, believing that they had to protect themselves, fired their weapons into the car.
It happened to be a plainclothes police car, and 2 policemen were shot to death.
That was the trigger incident. In the May pogrom, the police were still protecting the black community from the worst excesses of white thugs. But once the police department realized 2 of their own died from what happened, most of them refused to give protection. When the initial outburst of anti-black vendetta occurred,